Manchin of West Virginia. Good to have you on board again this morning, Senator.
Good to be with you, Mika.
Let's start with what the New York Times is calling a major shift in strategy in the approach to ISIS, and this is sending trainers, hundreds of additional American military trainers to help Iraqi forces retake Ramadi. What do you make of this approach? Do you have hope that it will be effective?
Mika, I think we just need to look at the past. We were there, what, for 12 years or more? We've had upwards to 100,000 troops in those areas before in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it's still in as bad, if not worse shape than it was. So are they ever going to have the will to defend themselves? Are we trying to put a government together with people that basically have been fighting for 1,400 years that don't want to be together?
So we don't know yet? Do we know? Do we know if they can do it?
Well, I mean, past results have not been very good, so I would think that basically insanity is doing the same thing over and over and thinking you're going to change and have a different result. Mika, only thing I've said, Joe Biden said many years ago that maybe it's a three-state solution there. You're going to have the Shiites and the Sunnis having a comfort area they can control themselves and have sovereignty and rights and control. Kurds and all of them have to be able to live in a region. They respect each other, but they have their own autonomy.
Right.
I don't know if we're trying to force something together that's not going to work, because we have tried what they want to try again. And basically, if it wasn't for the Iraqi troops, ISIS would have no hardware. They wouldn't have weapons. They have ours because they keep turning them over to them.
What's your approach, Senator? Is it the Biden approach from so many years ago?
That was mocked at first, and now I think it's...
I know it was mocked at first, but the bottom line, we've tried everything else. You know, Churchill said, many years ago, Joe Churchill said famously, the Americans will always do the right thing after they've tried everything else.
Right.
We've just about tried everything else, and if the Shiites and Sunnis, we can't put them together, and they don't have the confidence that we'll help put the right regime or leader in, like we did with Maliki and how that backfired on everybody.
Right.
Maybe we need to take a different approach.
So are there other people on the committee, are there other people in the Senate that are now moving towards, which I think is the sane, sensible thing to do?
I can't say I can't say how much that
a three-state solution. Are you hearing talk about that at all in the committee, or are people just talking about repeating the same mistake?
Well, Joe, let me ask you this. You've heard how many people on that committee in intelligence and on foreign relations that said, we should probably be arming the Kurds. They're the ones that want to fight. They're the ones that have been...
Why aren't we?
Well, because we have a policy that we go through Baghdad. Is that a policy we should change? Is there a strategy should be changed?
Well, yes, it obviously is. Do you think it is?
I do, Joe. I think that my friend Tim Kaine, who's been pushing extremely hard on AUMF, authorization to use military force, don't you think we should have Congress's involvement to see if this is the right philosophy, right policy? Because what we've been doing has not worked. Throwing more money in troops, I don't believe will work. If you talk to the surrounding neighbors, they don't believe that American troops on the ground does anything but infuriates and instigates more retaliation. So they're going to have to want to have the resolve to solve this themselves. They haven't showed that so far.
Senator, with regard to arming the Kurds or giving them more arms than they already have right now, do you think, or have you heard anything about the results of the Turkish election, in which President Erdogan suffered somewhat of a loss? Will that help in the situation with the Kurds? Because the Turks are violently opposed to arming the Kurds, who they regard as somewhat of an enemy. Do you think that will help at all?
Well, it's got to change the complexion of what we're dealing with over there. You know, the Turks have been pretty much direct in their approach to basically wanting us to fight and take out Assad before they got involved. It's like a quid pro quo. We've got to do this for the Saudis. We've got to do this for the Turks. We've got to do this. And we got ISIS, you know, kind of going in all different directions, being unchecked. So we've got to get our act together over there. The Turks have to get involved. My goodness, I would think that people would be becoming very uneasy, very concerned about their own safety. If they think that the ISIS is not going to bother them or come into their territory or do harm to their people, they're badly mistaken. So sure, they should be. And they're going to have to engage. But if they're going to prevent us from having the Kurds, and the Kurds basically have proven that they will fight, they will defend themselves, and they will help protect the region. They want their own autonomy. The main thing is how do you divide up the oil revenues? How do you make something work where there's an oil ministry that basically everybody gets some oil revenues?
Senator Manchin, it's Willie Geist. It's good to see you this morning.
Hey, Willie.
A three-state solution obviously is a long-term plan, but ISIS is taking Iraqi cities. It's blowing up marketplaces in Syria and Libya as well just over the last day. They're doing that now. They're planning to attack America now. So what more can the United States do in this exact moment to prevent that? Because the three-state solution is going to be years in the making, obviously.
Well, a three-state solution will be a long time in the making if that's the direction our country wants to go and it's the direction that people in that area want to do. But how are you going to give them the will to fight, Willie? Are we going to have to be there for eternity, basically fighting their wars for them? If the Sunnis don't want to protect their own Sunni area and won't fight ISIS, who are mostly made up of Sunnis, you got the Shiites says, well, we'll protect Baghdad and everything south of Baghdad. That's fine because that's all Shiite. How are you going to get them to engage and fight? The Kurds aren't going to come over and do much fighting for the Sunnis. They'll protect their area. So the bottom line is, if we go in there, do the Sunnis have any type of confidence that we're going to help them establish their own regime and accept that? And then the Shiites will have theirs. I mean, there has to be a plan where they believe will work. What we did before didn't work. You know, it's just that you hear so many briefings. I'm on so many secured briefings, and no one has had an answer. And I think that basically, when they said there's not a policy that's been concrete or in concrete yet that we think that is a pathway for success, we have tried about everything else.
Hey, Senator, it's John Heilman here. On a different topic, President Obama has a lot of areas where he's using kind of executive action to try to pursue his agenda. One of them is climate. I see that you and Senator Thune have introduced a bill to try to roll back some of the new EPA regulations on climate. Talk about that a little bit.
John, the only thing we're talking about on climate is, first of all, the climate. We have a serious problem with the climate. It's been man-made. We've been involved in this. We're to blame. How much? People argue all day long, but you can't be a denier. So with that being said, I accept that we have to do something, and we can do something, but basically, we're going to use fossil for the next 30 years, even the Department of Energy. So if the administration doesn't want to use it and are in denial, they can't run the country. We can't have affordable, reliable, dependable power. With that, shouldn't we be finding the technology that we can use it in the cleanest fashion? You can't have an unrealistic goals for us to be set when we don't have technology to get us to that level. So the only thing I have said, if it's not been legislated, you shouldn't be regulating it. You should go through the process of Congress, and they don't want to do that. We're saying have proven technology that's been on the grid for commercial 1 year, showing that it will work, and then basically say this is the new guidelines and benchmarks you have to meet. If you're not willing to invest, we're going to shut you down. I can go back home and say, listen, if we have new technology and we're not going to willing to invest, we'll have to shut some of these coal generating plants down. But they're willing to do it. They just can't hit a moving target, John.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Joe Manchin. It's always great to have you with us.
Always good to be with you all.